Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. And this is a paid request for Aaron. Thank you so much for that. For those interested, request in any type of videos, whether it be a topic, tier list, ranking, review, re-review, thought streams, commentaries, whether the case may be, feel free to send it. I'll get to it as soon as I possibly can. And for those who sent them, thank you. I really do appreciate it. And this is for a film that I did not know what the hell it was. And then I'm like, oh, this is the first film, it is a film, but Stanley Kubrick directed. And I guess for a while it was thought to be lost. For a bit, Kubrick wanted it to be burned. And I know Kubrick himself was not a fan of this. Like, he called it was very amateur and pretty much critiquing his job. And he's got a point because, listen, I like Stanley Kubrick quite a bit. I think he's one of the best directors we've had. I do. 2001 Space Odyssey, I think, is fantastic. I love The Shining. That's my favorite of his. Full Metal Jacket, I think, is one of the best war films out there. I like Dr. Strangelove. Eyes Wide Shut wasn't really for me, but I can appreciate certain aspects of it. Same with The Clockwork Orange. It's not for me, but I can appreciate certain aspects. I do not like Barry Lyndon. I think Barry Lyndon is his most boring film, at least to me. I hated that movie. This is the worst film he did. This film, Fear and Desire. Some places say 1953, but a lot more places say 1952. I guess like it was released in 1953, but I don't know. I'll say 1952 just for sake of argument. This film sucks. Now, it is on YouTube. It's also on Internet Archive. It's a little over an hour long. Hour and 6 to an hour and 10 minutes long. This film is shit. Okay, but why is it shit? In my opinion. Well, there's barely a story. There's barely a plot. Barely anything happens. The dialogue sounds so pretentious, artsy, up its own ass, where you're like, what the fuck are you talking about type of mentality. The editing is awkward at times. I know Kubrick edited the film. I don't think he did a good job. Because there's so many points that people are talking and they'll just awkwardly go to someone's up-close face. Like, people are talking, all of a sudden they'll go to someone's face like this. Or a face like this. As if the director felt like he needed to have another shot. Or needed to have some other cutaway. Whether because of the low production value, or I should say the schedule. The fact they only had like a 14-person crew, including the actors. I don't know, but I don't think this was that well edited of a movie. Then I think what he wanted to do was just shoot this as a silent film, but then he had to put stuff in afterward, which you could tell because people are dubbed. And that was awkward. I'm like, that doesn't sound like, I mean, the voice is not fitting. Like, it's a dub job. Like, you tell, like, the voice is trying to fit the mouth, but not quite at times. And, like, you feel that awkwardness. Like, I keep repeating. The plot of the film: 4 soldiers, their plane is shot down. You don't see the plane shot down because it's too cheap of a movie. They're 6 miles behind enemy lines, and they're trying to figure out what to do next. Either we traverse the countryside, or we don't build this raft, and then more stuff happens. But you have the leader of the group that likes to have these weird sayings and like talk weird. Just, it felt like someone trying to make the first project and trying to think so artfully in the monologues and the diatribe of the characters and what they should say. So they try to have this big, deep meaning in this way of trying to be fancy with the dialogue. And for me, it fell flat on his fucking face in this. Hell, there's a bit when the four of them are going and you hear all these voices, but you don't see them talking. It took me a minute to go, oh, it's their inner voices. But it's all like random sayings. Like one of the voices says, where was it? Oh, that bird was wounded. What bird? What bird was wounded? Oh, the bird was wounded. I'm so scared of it. It's a badass. What the fuck is going on? Who's saying who and why you? What does that dialogue that you say in your inner voice had? What did it pertain to? What bird was wounded? What are you talking about? Or there's a bit where the lead dies. They find a house. They kill the two people in there. And then they look at the bodies. And the leader is monologuing in his mind about how, we're all islands. It's hard to be sure where your island is. I mean, what the fuck are you jabbering about? Pretentious fucking dialogue that just made your eyes fucking roll. Which that's the thing. He's not really known for that in his later films. Like, I don't look at The Shining or Full Metal Jacket or even 2001 and go, oh, that dialogue was pretentious. No, not at all. Now, maybe he had other people write the film. I'm trying to remember. I mean, obviously The Shining is based on a loosely... But yeah, he did rewrite, to be fair, to make it his own. But it didn't sound like... Maybe... Again, even he hated the film. So people are like, oh, how could you hate this movie? Even Stanley Kubrick hated the movie, so I'm not alone in it, apparently. I'm on Kubrick's side on this. He thought this was shit, and he's right, it was shit. So while they're thinking about what to do next, or they want to build this raft, but they're afraid that a plane will come by. A plane did go by at one point. They're afraid that they were seen. A peasant girl comes by. They get the girl, they tie her up, and they tell this guy, Sydney, to stay. You can tell Sydney is not all there, like from the beginning. When they tell the two guys, he's freaking out and he's out of it. He's loopy. You could tell he's loopy. But they still have him stay there. Almost immediately, like within 5 minutes, he's gone. He's nuts. He's off the reservation. He's in the cuckoo house. He's over the cuckoo nest. He's on fucking Mars. He's on past Venus. He's off his fucking rocker. All the above. He's nuts. Almost immediately, he's fucking nuts. You say there's a little bit of build up with some of the stuff, but it really did feel like he went from like a 6 to a 16 in terms of nuts. Because he's on the ground looking at her and like, oh, please don't be scared. Hey, I'll pretend to be the general. And like these over the top pretend to eat like the general and, ooh, I'm really fat. Nope. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's being like so over the top, like cartoonish. It was laughable. It was stupid. It was goofy looking. And then it turns to him like wanting to sexually harass her and like trying to get her to lick his palm of his hand or to drink something or whatever and ready to feel her up. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? What is this shit? Obviously, this film was, you know what? A film that was made years later, many years later. If you want to see this, go watch Casualties of War. Casualties of War with Brian De Palma is the much, much, much better version of this movie. Now, granted, it's not the same plot. I'm just saying with the whole a girl captured, granted for very different reasons. It ends with him harassing her. He's like, "Oh, don't do anything. I'll untie you." She runs off because she's scared. She can't speak the language. He shoots her. One of the men get back, a guy named Mac. He said, "What did you do? Why did you do that?" And Sydney's talking about how a magician made him do it, or I gotta go to the river. This is a river of blood. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck. This guy's going to talk about unicorns and going to talk about sticking fucking frogs up his ass. You don't. Any man now is going to find this and stick it in his urethra and make it fit. I don't know. This guy is Looney Tunes. He's off. He's just fucking gone. The other two guys come back. The three of them see the dead girl. They're wondering what to do next. And this other Matt, he's going crazy too, because he keeps obsessing about this general that's nearby. And even the leader's like, no, we'll just get on the raft and go. No, but I need to do this, and I need my life to mean something, and you know, if I mean, you gotta let me do it. You gotta let me. Like, I'll be on the raft. I'll make noise, and you guys go in and kill the general. But I gotta do this, man. I gotta do this. Even though I was going to mean him dying, even though they just got on a raft and get the fuck out, which they could have, because no one was paying attention to the water. The soldiers are off over here. They weren't even looking at the water. They could have just gotten on the raft and gone, but this guy's like, no, I need to kill the... And he's not even going to kill the general. He's just going to be the decoy for the general to get killed. So I'm sure it's supposed to be some big anti-war thing that Stanley Kubrick wanted to go, but it didn't fucking work. It just makes this guy another lunatic that feels out of the fucking blue a lunatic. Again, you're caring about the general dying, but you're not going to be the one killing him. And you probably know you're going to fucking die on this raft, and for what? And I think the leader like tries to explain that, but this guy ain't having it, so he ultimately has to go along with it. So lo and behold, Mac, that guy's on the raft and I don't remember the actor's name. Look-wise, he kind of reminded me of Tamir Morrison, the guy who would be Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones, the Star Wars movie, then Boba Fett. Remind me a little bit of him look-wise. Lo and behold, he's the distraction. He gets shot. The two go in. One shoots two of them, including the general, but the general isn't dead yet, so the leader goes in, finishes the job. They hightail it out. They get to this plane. They steal the plane. They fly off. They get back to base. They ask, can we go back to the part of the river and see if our guy made it? Cut to the Matt guy is bleeding out. That crazy guy is in the water. Sydney, he comes onto the raft. And then through this fog, they emerge. Matt is dead. Sydney is crazy. And I'm sure it's supposed to be this big motif on the horror of war. To me, no, it's about two jagoffs who were fucking stupid and deserve to die. One, because he could have easily lived, because they could have gone on the raft and easily went by. But no. The other, because he went crazy, because he's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And again, stupid dialogue, like pretentious as fuck dialogue, where the last two remaining, one tells the leader, oh, guess I'm not built for this. And the other guy goes, nobody's built for this. It's the trick we perform when we would rather not die immediately. What the fuck does that even mean? Plus the fact that again, at times there's awkward editing where it seems like there's people talking and all of a sudden here's this guy, his face. I said, why are we cutting to his face? Just let this interaction happen naturally. Why you just cut into this guy's face or cutting this? It did that a lot. Again, the dub, you could tell. Now there are moments you can see Tubert's early, like what he could lead up to, like when they killed the two guys and there's up close shots of them squeezing the food in their, because they were eating, and as they're being stabbed, the soldiers are squeezing the food and you see the food spill out of their hands. Or before the general dies, him and his buddy are in the house, and the way it's lit. Like the way it's lit, I just see those little bit of thing he would take for later in films like Doctor Strangelove and stuff. So there's little few glimpses of photography that will lead to what Kubrick would accomplish much later on in movies. But this, there's barely a story, there's barely a plot. I didn't give a shit about any of the characters. The leader just talked out of his ass on pretentious artsy-fartsy dialogue. One was a cuckoo crazy fuck. One was an idiot that was obsessed with getting his general killed and just got himself killed. And then the other guy was just kind of... I guess he's kind of the guy just trying to keep things together, and he was okay. I guess out of all of them, he was, I guess, the bit more likable guy. But I mean, you don't really get to know them much. You don't really know much about their backstory or anything. It looks like they just found a patch of a forest and shot it there. You tell that the editing is just very, I keep mentioning it's just awkward. Fucking awkward. And it was boring. It was fucking boring as hell. Even though it was only an hour and 10 minutes, give or take, it still felt fucking long. Just very little happened. I just see why this is not that well liked of a movie. I just see why Kubrick wanted to abandon this fucking film, just throw it in the garbage. It deserves it. I'm sure some people would say no because of historical value, and to quote George Carlin and Bill and Ted, did get better. So he did get better, but even the greatest, they can make some dog shit. You know, I like John Carpenter, but Dark Star I don't think was that great of a movie. Although I'd rather watch Dark Star than this movie, if you give me a choice. But I'm not a fan of Dark Star, and John Carpenter's my favorite director. But Dark Star I think kind of sucks. As a student film, it's ambitious, but yeah, as a regular film, nah. But yeah, I'd rather watch that than this movie. But I mean, you could chalk it up to it's his first film, growing pains, mistakes have been made. At least he learned. He definitely learned with dialogue. Because again, the films I've seen afterward, you say maybe there's some little pretentious dialogue in A Clockwork Orange, but it felt like those came out better with Michael McDowell, and those had a little bit more finesse compared to this. So like that was doing that a bit better compared to this. But yeah, I guess Kubrick's first is Kubrick's worst. I'm going to try to remember to put that on. I'll probably forget, but god damn, man. But thankfully it was only an hour and change. Because if it was longer than that, holy shit. So that said, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye for now.